Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Hammer and Pickle podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Driver.
And I'm your host, Zach Martin. And it's episode 3.
It's episode 3.
And we are back with some lighthearted, fun, informative news today.
Because guess what?
It's June.
It's June.
And I'm proud. Are you proud?
I'm very proud because we're not talking about gay pride.
Get these rainbows out of here. We don't need them.
We need straight pride month.
Yes, straight pride is the most important issue on the docket for today. Because I feel underrepresented in my straightness.
I agree. We have a whole month for these gay people. What about us? What about us straighties? Come on.
Look, I just can't believe that when I go down to the Toyota dealership that they make me sign a rainbow flag. I don't even know where I'm going with this. We'll talk about Toyota later, but it's just like Chevy Truck Month. In the month of the Chevy Truck Month, you got to buy a truck. In the month of Pride, you got to be gay if you want to buy any vehicle. It's honestly insane. I'd encourage you straight folks, go try to buy a car in the month of June.
All these corporate companies, they're blasting us with these rainbow flags, trying to indoctrinate us into being gay. Yes. It's bullshit.
It's complete and utter lunacy, heresy, and I'd say authoritarian.
I would agree. On a serious note, we are not LGBTQ foes.
Not this month, we're not.
No, not this month. We are allies, you could say.
I guess.
If we have to be.
I suppose. No, but on a serious note, happy Pride.
Happy Pride Month.
To any LGBTQ plus listeners. Don't know if there are any out there.
Probably not.
Maybe eventually. Maybe. But we do have some problems with Pride, but more specifically, corporate Pride. And the way that corporations take Pride Month, which is necessary for the normalization of a lot of LGBT culture and identities.
Indeed.
But companies like to use the month for just profits and in kind of gross, tacky, unnecessary ways that also don't reflect their core values as a company.
Not at all. It's so widespread that I feel like every company is... We're expecting them to put a pride flag on their logo.
Absolutely. Everyone knows June 1st is going to come around, and all the U.S. branches of the Fortune 500 international companies will throw their rainbow flag, where their Middle Eastern and Chinese branches will have, I guess their Chinese branches aren't on social media, but Middle Eastern branches will have just normal logos and act like business is normal. And it is business as normal. It is It's just marketing month for a lot of companies to pander to LGBTQ people, and I don't know if it really kind of gains any legs, but it allows these companies to kind of save face, get some easy PR, and hey, maybe make some money off of a easy marketing push.
I mean, it seems to be working. People talk about it. I mean, maybe not in the best of light. It's kind of a meme at this point, but
absolutely,
people talk about it.
I mean, I always think it's funny, Skittles will do the bag of white Skittles because only rainbows. The only one rainbow matters during Pride Month, and I have to ask myself, are gay people going out and buying the blank Skittles? Is that
no?
Is that successful? I mean, is anyone oh, it's June, I want my white Skittles. That's what I'm excited for. I am ready for.
Or the gayo.
Was that a thing?
I don't know if that was real, but I wouldn't put it past the company to make gayo.
Of course not. I think, is that Nestle?
The Kraft. Kraft mayo.
Oh, I thought you meant Oreos.
No, I'm talking about mayo.
Okay. Gayo.
I've seen that around, but I don't think it's real.
But no,
either way.
That'd be funny. But it is very, very odd that companies are so quick and easy to just plaster rainbow flags, pride flags, bi flags, trans flags on everything just to make a quick buck. I mean, I don't know if
because they don't actually care.
No, of course not. I mean, we could pull up a list of some companies who, despite being pride allies, quote unquote, have donated to anti-LGBTQ campaigns.
We're not just talking about Chick-fil-A.
No. We got Toyota, AT&T, Comcast, Amazon, State Farm, General Motors. All these companies have donated tens of thousands of dollars to anti-LGBTQ candidates and general campaigns across the country.
And all of them promote the pride flag in their logo.
Absolutely, or I don't know.
They probably do.
Probably do. They do some sort of pro-pride initiative
Right.
and claim to be on the side of allies, despite showing no real material interest in committing to the causes.
Because they don't give a shit.
No, because that would affect their bottom line. If companies actually wanted to put forward pro-LGBTQ pushes in any significant, meaningful way, that'd cost them money. And they're not willing to spend that money for what they view...
For gay people.
For what they view as a unnecessary or insignificant return. I mean, it's gross. I don't know who's buying this stuff. Like, I think the rainbow flag is really ugly. Just like...
Wait, you can't be saying that. Are you a foe?
I am a foe towards the rainbow flag. I think it is a terrible color scheme. Yes. Trans flag looks cool. Bi flag looks cool. I mean, there's some cool ass pride flags out there. The rainbow flag is not one of them. It's so overused at this point too. I really think they're in need of a redesign in that front. But companies are still just gonna plaster it on everything they can. You go into any Target or Walmart or anything, there's an entire section just dedicated to shirts with rainbow flags on them. And if you like that stuff, cool, good for you. I'm glad that you can get that stuff. But it's also really weird. It's 1 month of the year. It's clearly just marketing, and it has no lasting material benefit towards the community.
Like, if you want to show your pride, I don't know if buying a shirt from Walmart that says "I'm proud" or has a rainbow flag on it is really gonna help you more than the company.
No, I don't think so either.
Of course, if you want to show your pride, do so.
Yeah, of course. There's nothing wrong with that, and you can express that in any way you see fit. In my opinion, I see no problem with it. But
it is very weird, though. Very gross, like you said, for companies to do that. Though.
And what it does is it gives conservatives something to like very easily latch on and like attack for no particular reason.
Yeah.
Like conservatives will walk into Walmart and then freak out when they see the rainbow flag section and think that Walmart is pushing leftist values and wokeism onto them, and that's just not true either. They're just trying to make a quick buck, and it comes, I think, in a lot of ways at the cost of the LGBTQ community, where they are kind of minimized to this month, to these tacky expressions of corporate greed, and I do think that Pride would be better off with a larger kind of more holistic approach that didn't involve so much corporate commodity fetishization.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, gay-owned companies would be pretty cool, but I don't think any of these corporate companies are gay-owned.
No, I mean, and if they do, I think it's really irrelevant as unless they are actually putting forward the efforts to limit LGBTQ discrimination and actually practicing at some material level the things that they believe. That's all that matters. I don't care if there's a member of the LGBTQ community on like an executive board or in a position of power, because that's not what changes things.
No.
What changes things is actually top-down material change that works to improve the lives of a majority of people. And in these cases, we're still seeing high levels of LGBTQ discrimination in companies, and especially in the military, which is kind of hilarious given the post that the Marines had with the rainbow bullets in the helmet. I don't think the military is in any semblance leftist, woke, progressive, or gives any
pro-LGBT
any shit about LGBTQ values. I mean, it is laughable for them to project themselves that way. I mean, it's been a little bit over the decade since the end of the Don't Say Gay bill, but even that has had such long-term consequences for gay service members who were limited in their healthcare access, their promotion access. They were dishonorably discharged in a lot of circumstances if they were found out. And
I
it
think
just
that also like really pushes and propagates this culture, this anti, LGBTQ and homophobic culture that not only affects service members, but also when they leave service and, have families and etc.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but service members are more likely to be homophobic in a lot of ways. And that's due to a lot of things, including the demographics of a lot of service members and the culture that it pushes, to where a lot of ridicule from higher ups is shown towards new LGBTQ service members, and then that encourages new straight service members to kind of fall in line with that ideology.
Exactly.
Because that's what's going to get them further, that's what's going to get them promoted, and that's what's going to keep them from getting the ridicule.
I mean, just in general, having a workplace culture that is homophobic is going to make a large amount of your employees homophobic.
Absolutely. And I mean, and that happens at any level when there is ridicule from the top down,
right,
or any form of discrimination, because that just encourages further discrimination from people who aren't in the in-group.
Right.
It's really a cycle in that sense, to where it is extremely difficult for an individual just who wants to go into the military or whatever company to make change, because of its systematic implications on how LGBTQ service members are treated. And it doesn't seem like the Army, the Marines, or any really branch is interested on tackling the root causes that cause this discrimination in the first place.
No, I mean, of course not. I mean, trans people weren't even allowed to be in the military until somewhat recently, and then it was they were rebanned from the military by Trump.
Yeah. Let me get the years on that
So
they were banned from 1960 until 2016, and then from 2019 to 2021 again with Trump's ban. But yeah, I mean, for the military to try to paint itself as pro pride or pro any leftist values whatsoever is ridiculous. I mean,
yeah. All, as much as people may want to believe that the military or any corporate company is promoting wokeism or operates from a leftist perspective, is completely wrong. I mean, for example, corporate companies, they're the largest, most capitalistic people on the planet.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the military and also works as a capitalist tool, because it is the largest employer on the planet.
Right.
The U.S. military is. And it works to kind of secure U.S. capital interests. And if those don't agree with leftist values, which they certainly don't, why the hell would the U.S. military act on those values? I mean, and when you're talking about the largest single employer on the planet, that still gives you thousands and thousands of active current LGBTQ service members. I think there's just south of 80,000 currently, based on Census Bureau research, and millions over the course of the military's existence. And up until recently, the plight of LGBTQ veterans was severe in their limit to healthcare, economic resources that would usually be expected of service members to get. Just, it made it extremely difficult for them to kind of receive. And while things are getting better, like trans people are now allowed back in the military, there is no sign of a true examination and restoration of why these power structures are the way they are. And of course there isn't. Why would there be?
No, they have no reason to. I mean, the only thing that they're going to do is continue to give off the aesthetic that they care, or that they're pro-LGBTQ. And that's just going to bring in... Their goal is to just bring in more members.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, they are a business that needs that actively tries to hire as many people as possible.
So they can tell the lie to entering members that, oh, don't worry, this is a safe space for LGBTQ people, and that's especially harmful when LGBTQ people a lot of times are the most vulnerable to the same kind of tactics the military uses in recruitment, where they are targeting disassociated people who come from low-income backgrounds. And in the case of a lot of LGBTQ people, these people have lost their families because of their identity.
Yeah.
So they will often be searching for a new form of community, a new form of purpose, and that could easily lead them to the military, which from the outside may seem like a safe space, but it clearly isn't.
No,
it's not. And I mean, Disney does the same thing, really. I think Disney might be kind of the biggest example of trying to play both sides of the narrative, to where they will have a new gay character in a movie or something who can be easily edited out. They will try to fight against the Don't Say Gay bill that just passed down in Florida, while still supporting the candidates who support that bill. And they do this to maximize their profits. They're doing this to appeal to the largest amount of people possible, while offending the least amount of people possible. And of course, that often goes with enraging a lot of fringe Republicans who think that the woke mob is taking over and invading all aspects of their life, and they can't just sit down and watch a movie without a black person being on screen because, oh my god, the woke mob. But Disney ultimately wants to make as much money as possible, and they are going to do everything they can to make sure that they can release a movie in the States and people will go out to see it because, oh, look, a new gay princess or whatever. And they also want to be able to release that movie in China and cut that out and edit it and be able to make another $100 million in another market.
Exactly. It's so disgusting to see all these corporate companies try to exploit marginalized groups of people that have already been exploited their entire lives and through their history as well.
Absolutely. And this is nothing new. Similar things happened to black people during the civil rights movement, of course, with like blaxploitation films and other forms of media that capitalized on trying to kind of entice that culture without actually helping the culture.
Without actually telling the stories of these people's struggles. They just use them for advertising, pretty much.
Yeah, and it's
really sad to see that.
It is really sad, but what frustrates me most is the false pushback it gets, and how everyone freaks out about a new gay character in a Disney movie because it's
or a black James Bond,
or a black James Bond, or a black person in Star Wars or whatever, and it's literally just the most meaningless, most profitable thing that the corporation can do. And it's just pure capitalism.
Yeah.
But
I think having I think diversity is good in these types of industries, but not in the way and not in the context that these companies are doing it from.
No, absolutely not, because they are not doing it from a place of wanting the inclusion, of wanting the diversity, of wanting the systematic rejuvenation of like, say, a black community, or helping out the problems the LGBT community still remains in. They only care about the money and their bottom line, and if it ever becomes unprofitable for them, they will give it up and move on to the next thing to profit off of.
It's all a facade. It's crazy that they just are pretending to actually care, while pushing these things that may seem to some that they actually do care. It's probably convincing to a lot of people.
Oh, it absolutely is. It absolutely allows Disney and Toyota and these random companies to appeal to an average, uninformed center or center left person who says, "Oh, cool! I'm glad that my Toyota purchase is going to a rainbow company," or "Oh, I'm glad my Disney Plus subscription for this month is supporting of the Pride category that Disney just announced, or that's on Netflix or something." It does work on a very baseline, unnuanced approach, and I think that's how they make money off it. And I don't know the numbers, but every corporation can kind of see that, when we put the rainbow pride flag on our logo, our profits are up 10% in the month of June or whatever.
I mean, we already saw Walmart. They had a Pride ice cream and a Juneteenth ice cream.
That's just silly. I mean,
what type of flavor is Pride? What does Pride taste like?
Dick.
That's the
Tastes
Pride
like dick.
I want to taste. And then, like, it's bizarre to me that they thought that was a good idea. That was really their best June idea.
I mean, it's not like anything's gonna happen to them for it. It'll either sell or not, and if enough people care, they could be like, "Oh, my bad, we missed the mark on this," but they're ultimately not going to do anything to benefit the communities they claim to care about. So it's ineffective in any materialist sense.
I agree.
And I think the moral of the story is a lot of corporate pride, I'd say 95 to 98% of it, is just for profit maximization. There are companies out there that do care, that are
at least somewhat,
that are quote unquote champions of social justice or whatever you want to claim it to be. But if it doesn't help their bottom line, why would they do it?
Exactly.
And that's the world we live in. And do you know what else is a part of the world we live in?
Oh God, I love me some Joe Brandon.
Our current president, Joseph Brandon Biden, is...
Let's go, Brandon.
I would say doing stuff, but he's not really doing anything.
No, he really isn't.
He keeps on saying a lot of stuff.
But hasn't really followed through with a lot of it. I mean,
No.
he just... he just recently canceled $10,000 of student debt for people that are under $150,000 a year.
Yes.
Which is something. That is something.
But
it's not really enough, considering there are lots and lots and lots of people that have quite a bit over $10,000 of student debt.
Well, absolutely. And to even kind of shift this more into a political lens first, midterms are coming up. And his approval rating is hovering right above 40%, kind of around 41%, but it's going down. And it doesn't seem like he is taking any significant steps to kind of encourage people to go out and vote for Democrats, other than the looming fear of, what if it's a Republican?
Yeah, exactly.
That's all they do.
In classic Democratic style, they are not doing anything to help themselves except for wait for the Republicans to do something crazy.
Yes, and like I saw this right when kind of the Roe v. Wade decision got leaked. Is I got a bunch of emails and donor texts or something from every Democratic candidate that I've never even heard of.
Exactly.
Just like, I need your help. Please give me money so I can not do my job.
Exactly.
Because these people have been in office for decades, and Barack Obama said he would codify Roe v. Wade. He didn't. I think Joe Biden even ran on it, but then completely gave it up. I know Barack Obama gave it up for his first 100 days into office. I think Joe Biden either talked about it on his campaign or whatever, but these people don't do anything.
No.
And it sucks. I want them to do something so bad.
It's so frustrating.
If I could wake up in a world where the Democrats actually did the things Republicans thought they did, it'd be the best day ever. We would live in a paradise.
But they don't.
But they don't. They don't do anything. So what Joe Biden has been up to, though, is he's been using a lot of we language. Like, I noticed that whenever he talks about gun control, he's like, we need to do something. Bitch, you're the president.
Yeah, you need to do
You
something.
sit your ass down, get your old man crypt keeper hands to a pen and paper, and sign a goddamn executive order. It's not that hard. Trump did 3 a day.
Yeah.
and Joe Biden just does it.
I kind of forgot executive orders existed lately. With how many Trump did versus how much Biden has been
It was
doing.
just every day Trump was increasing levels of presidential power, and Democrats just don't. They don't want to.
And spineless Joe Biden, Joe Brandon, isn't doing jack shit.
No, he's not. You know what he did do? He met with BTS.
He did meet
He
with
threw
BTS.
up the finger heart. And that's enough to get me his vote, honestly. I will vote for Joe Biden, BTS, Stanjamin.
Going back, we talk about corporate pandering, but this is just White House pandering. This is presidential pandering at its maximum.
It is funny because, I mean, the whole anti-Asian hate thing, I do get applies to...
No, that's great. I mean, that's great.
But it applies to all Asian people, even though it started with Chinese people at the beginning of the pandemic because of COVID. And, of course, BTS is a Korean pop band.
Yeah. It's still... No, I still think it's a good thing that they came and talked about that. Like, I didn't watch any of it, but just to talk about that in, like, a governmental setting is a good thing. But it's the same theme as corporate pride. It's like they're bringing in this popular, extremely popular K-pop band to talk about, just to seem to like appeal to the people.
Absolutely. I don't know if this like had the intention of like, oh, we really need to increase our popularity with the 18 to 25 demographic. Let's get a K-pop band in here and see if we can do some diplomatic policy or whatever. I mean, I don't think he did anything. I think it was just like to discuss the problems, and
it's still just weird.
It was very weird, especially given like the state that the country's in, with gas prices as high as they are, with student debt looming, with the gun crisis that he claims to really care about,
reproductive health crisis.
I have yet to see him do anything substantial and put his name on a document and says, I, Joe Biden, put my executive order, pen and paper or whatever, and I'm going to do this. And he just won't. And he doesn't. And how am I supposed to believe as a voter that it's worth my time to vote for him or vote for candidates that he supports when he won't do anything about things he says he cares about?
I mean, why do you think so many, of Trump's followers are so active and so like passionate about it?
At least he does the stuff he says he's going to do.
Yeah, exactly.
That Trump wall that was like impossible for him to do, he still got that figured out somehow. Like, and it's not done. It's not even close. It's not nearly what he claimed to be. But he gives them something. He gives them something tangible to bite onto. The Republicans will fight for decades to overturn Roe v. Wade, and they never stop fighting. And the Democrats just sit, wait, cross their hands, wag their finger, and kind of just wait for them to be gifted votes because the alternative is Satan and Satan's friends.
Yeah. It's really sad. It's really frustrating to see that nothing is being done to combat crazy Republican legislation.
No. I mean, it's not, and we will see, I think, later this month, the finality of the Roe v. Wade decision and whether or not Democrats can mobilize effectively enough to get anything together. But I
predict they won't.
Probably not, and I think this will either be like a very lucky skin of their teeth midterms by the Democratic Party, or they're just going to get blown out. Because, I mean, yes, a lot, like, Roe v. Wade and that being overturned will get people to vote out for Democrats and other things, and they will come up with something to claim to do by the time October, November rolls around. But without any tangible material thing to latch onto and be frankly excited for, how are they going to get people to vote? And it's not like they can't. There are easy things Joe Biden could do, like in his sleep if he wanted to.
Exactly.
Like someone just like kind of go up to him next to his bed, like throw a pen between his fingers and kind of just like scribble up something on a sheet, and you could pass 4 or 5 over 70% popular executive orders.
Yeah. Like
overnight, boost his approval rating 10 to 15 points. It's kind of a no-brainer, but in my lifetime, since I've been following politics over the past 8 years or whatever, 6 years, I mean, I haven't seen a Democrat do it. They don't show any interest in legalizing marijuana, in tangibly addressing the student debt crisis, in kind of actually introducing and solidifying gun reform that they claim to be so passionate about, they don't do it.
I have a theory. I think Joe Brandon has a kink for edging his followers and the Democratic Party in general.
Hey, and we can't hate about that because it's Pride Month.
It's
and
Pride
we
Month.
can't kink shame.
No,
we
kink
shouldn't
shaming
kink
allowed.
shame. Okay,
Actually, Joe Brandon...
Podcast over. Joe Brandon's great.
I love Joe Brandon.
He is an LGBTQ ap. We do not kick shame here on the Hammer Pickle podcast. We will have to move on because edging is his kink. Okay. No, but the real reason is because the Democratic Party is the controlled opposition.
Yeah.
That's all they are. They
the
work...
most spineless group of people.
They work not to do the will of their voters or anything. Their sole purpose is to react to Republicans.
Yeah, and to stay in office.
And to do that, all they have to do is the finger wag and the, oh, we can't let this happen, despite continually letting it happen.
Now vote harder.
And I guess I gotta start committing voter fraud so I can vote 2, 3, 4 times to get these people to just do their job, because no matter how many times I vote, they're not gonna do anything.
Well, yeah, with all the prevalent voter fraud, I mean, you'd probably easily slip through, so...
That's a whole nother episode.
That is, yeah, that's a whole different discussion. But there's so many different things that Joe Brandon could do. I mean, one of our favorite things, to partake in, legalizing marijuana.
I mean, I think that's just an easy one. Like, for the past kind of decade now, marijuana has been socially normalized, especially in places like Colorado, California, major cities across the country, and of course Canada has legalization now. Mexico, I think, will have legalization by the end of the year. So the U.S.
We're really falling behind on that aspect.
We have, I mean, if we compare us to like other developed countries like Korea, Japan, they do have very, very strict laws against.
Yeah, but they also have a culture that has stigmatized
very,
weed.
very, yes.
Our culture, in the U.S., there is no like. The stigmatized weed culture is really dying down, and there's a lot of people that support like legalization of weed.
Absolutely, and especially because the science behind it is that it is by metrics safer than alcohol consumption or other legal drugs that people like to partake in. But also, just that the fact that the largest markets in the country, your Californias, your New Yorks, I think Florida now even has medical legalization. That these extremely large markets that have no really boundary other than state borders have drastically different regulation and laws behind it. Like, I mean, you could still go to somewhere like Oklahoma and be sentenced for like a minimum of 10 years for simple possession.
Primarily if you're black.
Primarily if you're black. But... And don't quote me on the laws on that. I don't know specifically, but simple possession charges can still get you thrown in prison for a long time, depending on where you are in the country. Whereas if you drive across state lines, you can go into a dispensary, buy 28 grams of your favorite Kush, and you're good. Yeah. And I think we might dig into that deeper on a War on Drugs episode that might be coming in the near future.
Perhaps we could talk about that next week.
Perhaps we will. And I think that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of the Hammer Pickle Podcast. Thank you all for listening, and we'll be back next week with a special episode. See you then.